Welcome back to Around the Mage Table. I'm your host, Frank, joined here by Tekniq. How are you doing today?
What's up, man? Glad to be here. I'm good.
And how about you, Scrap? How are you feeling today?
Oh, good.
And of course, Shonald. How are you doing?
A++, buddy.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, today is a big day, huge release for WoW, an entirely new feature we've never seen before. Before we get into that, though, we do want to talk a little bit, maybe put a bow on Season 4. And so we're going to jump straight in to a little information around our MetaMeta list. Now, if you remember from, I think, episode 8 or something like that, we introduced this. Lithian was helping me build a Metacritic version of tier lists. What we did is we went through all the YouTube videos and all the websites we could find with a tier list and put it together. It was shown that week, but it's also been a little bit updated with some of the new tier lists that came out. And so this is our final Season 4 rankings before we kind of put a bow on it. And I just want to go through and talk about some of the things that surprised me. So Shadow, as anyone may have noticed, was on everyone's S tier. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second when we get to our tier list. Vengeance, Demon Hunter, of course. Og Evoker up there, but I haven't seen too many of them. I'm surprised we don't see a lot more Evokers playing those because it's kind of like a free ticket into a key. Anything standing out to you guys?
I don't know if an Ogvoker is a free ticket into a key because you never know if they're good or not.
How do you? I don't know. How do you quantify that?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to see.
Exactly. How do you quantify it? Like, I'm nervous to bring an Ogvoker into my keys. Of course, I'm not doing really high stuff, so I don't know.
If I was a DPS class, I would probably want an Ogvoker just because I'm not going to be at the bottom of the DPS list, you know?
That's pretty funny.
All right. But you know, Fire's up there at the top. We're going to showcase something about that data in just a second. I am a little disappointed to see Arcane at B tier when it feels like a D tier right now for me. Because yeah, well, maybe I'm playing it wrong, but I did sim it and I'm playing as well as my sim suggests. But when I sim Scrap or Haywire or anyone else for that matter, I'm simming way behind them. I did a sim with Impaw, who's playing Demonology right now, and he was simming 50% higher DPS than me, and so it's like kind of breaking my heart. I got to figure out what the heck's going on there.
He had 100 million on you in the sim.
Yeah,
but you know, he doesn't always have 100
like DPS.
He doesn't always have 100 million in the key, just sometimes.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like the ceiling is there now, and I'm like, well, how am I gonna like? Is it even possible to break through the ceiling? Whatever.
No, you gotta work on your gear. It's messed up.
But you know, some of the people were not surprised to see there. Marksman down at C+, Affliction in D. I wanted to bring this up because I want to show you guys some things. So I'm gonna pull up real quick mythicstats.com. Let me get that set up for you guys. And I'm going to actually keep this tier list here at the bottom so we can keep an eye on it while we're talking about this. But here's some of the data points for, this is week 3 of Season 4. I don't think are going to be any more tuning passes on this season. We may see some more specs kind of lift because of the stat priorities with the gear as they get through the season, but that's not the point. I don't think people were kind of accounting for that when they made their tier lists. Shadow Priest is at the top, and again, I'm going to put a pin in that one because I want to talk about it when we get to our tier list, but I'm surprised to see Destruction above Demonology. I think it was kind of like originally thought that Demonology, but it kind of swayed to Destruction, I guess, with some tuning passes. But look at, Marksmanship Hunter, I would have guessed, based on what I've heard, that would have been way low. I mean, we even saw it, in the C+ tier from the tier lists made out there. And so, you know, I'm surprised Haywire hasn't even switched to that, but Haywire's playing Beastmaster pretty well.
I think this entire X-Pack, I haven't seen any Marksmanship Hunters, at all. So it's kind of cool that they're getting play now. Like, sucks that it's at the end of the season, but yeah. Maybe
there's a niche reason why, they just have a good damage profile for the way the pulls are happening. But yeah. I'm really surprised to see Frost outperforming Fire. I feel like, you know, it's even being played more than Fire is. It's doing more DPS than Arcane as far as I can tell.
It doesn't surprise me that more people are playing Frost. I feel like that's typically the case, right? It's like a more accessible spec than Fire.
I would agree if it was like we were looking through the 1 through 10 keys, but this is, I think, aggregate data from level 8, level 8 and above.
Well, it might also be that it's, you know, last season and people don't want to deal with the Fire Mage timing and rotation. They just want to press Frostbolt over and over again. So
because that's what a Frost Mage does.
I'm pretty sure that's what they do. Every time I look over, that's what they're doing.
No.
But we also came into this season, I feel, and Chanee, you're the expert on this, but like I thought Outlaw was going to be one of the, MDI styled must-have for the keys, but it's not being played that much, and it's also not performing. I mean, I think it's in the C tier, no B tier here.
It's in B.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little surprised by.
Yeah, I feel like rogues are down overall. I mean, like, yeah, Outlaw did 2K runs, and then the other two rogues don't even get to like 300 runs really between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like when they got rid of like invis skips and rogues doing them, it actually made rogues like less wanted.
And again, I feel like that what we see at the top is classes that have access to the legendary as far as melee classes. And those at the bottom are the ones who don't. So
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm coming through it real quick. I mean, Windwalker, I think, is
top three.
Windwalker's the first to make that kind of, it's a B tier, but
you see the Feral Druid, Survival Hunter, all three of the rogues are below any of the others.
To counter that is that Fury Warriors technically can do 2 of them.
I don't. Can you? I don't think they're unique equips. Yeah, you can transmog 2 of them, I think.
But one thing to consider is that while Demon Hunters are tanking 80% of the keys out there, they're buffing your spellcasting classes, so it's 5% increase, and they're just getting a lot more play. So that synergy makes a lot more sense, to run with like a spell damage class.
I'm also
a bunch of melee classes.
I'm also surprised to see Balance Druid so low, because maybe it's the tier set problem that we were talking about last week with, I thought they fixed it, and fixed is put in air quotes there. I don't know. Again, I'm a little surprised by some of the things, but
is it possible that a lot of them don't have it still, maybe because I see their cap is really high. Like their cap is like in the top 5.
Maybe that's okay. Good point. Yeah, they are overall. They can max out higher than some of the other ones. Maybe it's just that they don't have the tools like like I'm thinking right now. I've been running nonstop like Azure and Hulls of Infusion to get my trinkets, and there's so many pools where you don't want just one interrupt, which they have one long 1 minute cooldown. But you also want to be able to displace as much as possible. I don't know Balanced Druids. Maybe they do have a better toolkit than that. But yeah, that could easily be the answer, because they are, tied very closely for third highest parse on a key. So good point there. But I mean, look at Affliction, right? That was everyone's guess of not performing well, and it's not played that much. But the people who are playing it well enough, at least. And then of course Og down there. Now, something I want to point out is that it has almost 7,000 runs, which is up there with like the Shadow Priests and Ret Paladins, etc. So the web hooks, or whatever the hooks for Warcraft logs, is still not working correctly, and I'm just I
think well, I also think that you're getting value from the tank doing more damage too, so consider that as well.
What, with Og?
Yeah, with Og, is because you're saying it's like, it doesn't seem like it would be worth it to take something that low, even if you're getting something much higher.
Oh, yeah.
But you're also adding in the tank's extra damage.
Well, and I think a big part of the reason why you see such a high bump from Destro and Shadow Priest overall is that augment, like overflow effect, we'll call it, right? Where they're boosting their DPS. I think if we took augmentation out, I think the point I was trying to make though is that augmentation is kind of like the chat around augmentation being broken is kind of like gone away, and I'm confused. As I thought it was more of like, well, they're close enough now that it feels a little more balanced, or is it really just everyone's just accepted the fact that it's here and we just have to deal with it, and that's just going to be
I think an S tier. You see the amount of plays is that I think you mentioned before that people just like having an augment evoker because it makes their DPS look higher, right? It's just an enjoyable experience to have augment evoker. Do I know how it's working? Do I know if they're good or not in the key? Not really, but I like seeing my number get bigger, so
Well, that all said, this is what others have said about performance from classes going into Season 4. What we did was not only ran the MetaMeta, but we also decided that whenever we pugged, we would try to keep a tally of how every spec that we saw performed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal right now what that looks like. And you can see here, this is our tier list for how specs performed this season so far. And the first thing I want to call out is S tier, nobody. Right?
Oh, can you pull it up, Frank?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'll put it on for you. There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
The S tier, I like we had like 1 or 2 in there going into maybe the last couple days before we posted this, but I just feel like there's no class that's really guaranteed.
I had some VDHs who were awesome, but you can see they're in the rage quit tier because as many as were good also rage quit. So.
It was more, I feel like, I mean, I've only seen a couple of them because usually really I have one YouTube tanking. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say something, man.
Okay.
Most of this data didn't come from us. It came from the two of you, as far as I'm aware. And
well, Chanee hasn't played much, period. So yeah.
I love
of course, you had a bunch of tanks rage quit.
I've had Pugging.
Shut up, Tekniq.
I'll give you an example of where I've seen most rage quits this season so far. Is the first pull of Azure, where you've got those leaf things all casting. And the number one reason why I think this goes wrong for the tanks is because they don't communicate what they want to do, right? Yeah. One person will, get the dragon to release those mobs that go splashing onto the tank. One will run into the second room and pick up the other trees and bring them back, but they don't have a plan for managing them until they get there. Yeah. They don't tell the DPS, wait in this little corner so you don't get hit by it. They just go assuming everyone knows what the fuck's going on, right? Yeah. So that's, in fairness, I think why they earn those rage quit tiers, because they're like, what? Why didn't they know? The fire mages we had rage quit.
Had your face for that.
The fire mages that quit. Honestly, it'd be one thing if they were like doing, because there's always those keys where someone's like crushing the meters, and then they realize they're with a group of people that aren't very good, and they go, I'm out of here. No, they come in, they like suck, and they die, and somehow with all their life sustainability, they didn't even get mad. They just leave. This isn't worth my time. I'm fire.
Huge caveat on this.
I'm fire.
Every single icon placed on here was collected from personal experience.
Yes.
So,
the only data is subjectivity.
The only data is subjectivity. This is just what we have experienced personally. I wouldn't even say we have a lot of data. Some of these things we experience one guy, like you said, the enhancement shaman.
Yep.
You did one key with him. He's the highest ranked because he did really well, I guess.
And in fairness, he was like a week 1 run.
Frank's enhancement shaman runs.
No, because I came in without tier sets.
why is Prot Warrior so low?
Rage quit.
I'm doing just fine.
You're not the pug though. So just to clarify, right? Okay. This was in the intent of people will see metas, right? And I think Vengeance Demon Hunter is the perfect example. We have seen some really good Vengeance Demon Hunters that are possibly being lifted by the fact that the spec is performing so well right now.
Possibly.
But it's just like this meta, this Fodom, mentality just pulls people into it. And I personally believe that Tekniq, for example, what was Prot Warrior? It was one of the lower tiers, right, on the MetaMeta.
Yeah, it was middle.
You play it perfectly well, right? You handle yourself.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You handle yourself beautifully. And yet, it's more about the fact that you who's the Prot Warrior that like refuses to give up Prot Warrior despite Fodom, the big Twitch guy, not Pika.
Pika.
Pika. Okay, Pika. Right, like I mean, argues that if you play the class well, that's all that matters, right? That he can do 20s and 30s or whatever.
I think as warrior, but he has picked up Demon Hunter for dungeon.
Maybe because it's fun, right?
Your example has picked up Demon Hunter.
But like again, Prot Paladin for me and Prot Warrior for you, like we can go in there and 10s aren't really necessarily the be all say all of challenge, but like we're not playing at the 20 level. We're not playing. I think the world first 20 was just timed in Azure. We're never going to play at that space. And so when we see these tier lists, what we really need to gather is okay. Well, what are actual people doing out there? And that's where this tier list comes in, right? When we see
apparently
arms,
we don't have any tanks.
Well, we don't have very good tanks.
Tanks hate us.
No. What was it? I mean, Feral was up, or not Feral. What are they called?
Bear druids.
Bear druids, yeah. Guardian druids were up there high until 2 back-to-back rage quits just caused them like, yeah. And again, it's not, I would not punish someone for rage quitting if we were playing like clowns, right? Like if we came in there and we're like, oh God, we're just messing up. You know, some of these were like 5s and 6s people were rage quitting.
No, I had one. So one, I don't even know if there's rage behind this. So one of the VDH ones that I submitted, I had 2 VDH rage quits, and one of them was at the end of Oldemon. We wiped on the last boss, and we weren't gonna time it, and it was like an 8 or a 9. It was like just we're getting our vault done, end of the week sort of thing. And he was just like, okay, GG, and just left. I mean, you've been in Oldemon for 41 minutes already, and like, yeah, we weren't gonna time it. There was still time on the timer, but we weren't gonna time it. And he was just like, no vault. Like, I'm out. I was just like, what the hell? Who does that after the longest dungeon in the rotation?
He gave up 45 minutes to save himself 1 minute. Like what?
No, yeah. It was like it was handled. We handled the whole dungeon decently enough. Yeah, no, that was bizarre. Like no rage. He was just like, no, that was it.
And the other side of it too is this Shadow Priest, right? Like again, Fodum chasing. People are not playing it well.
Well, that was the only Shadow Priest I ran was the one we did last night in the Oldemon, and I was a mile ahead of them. Like
I've been playing a lot with
yesterday.
Fute, and he is crushing.
He's really good. Yeah, I'm guessing. But people chase that flavor of the month. Yeah,
I can't sit there and say that every Shadow Priest is bad. No, but like
just the ones we experience.
I would say Shadow Priest is what we pulled into our groups the most, right? Yeah. Because I was like, well, they're supposed to be the best. I want to see if this is true. And 8 out of 10 of them, or 4 out of 5 of them, were garbage. Like garbage.
I think these flavor of the month classes also suffer at the beginning of the season because it's like people are switching from their, whatever the hell, survival hunters. I don't remember what else, rogues, and they're like, I'm gonna play a priest, like, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're watching their Hakili. They don't know what they're doing yet. So give them a couple weeks, maybe we'll see better ones.
Here's my thought on the people who chase Fodum. Usually you have to be a certain... usually you have to be a certain... Like, to be good at Fodum chasing, you just have to have a fundamental understanding of how the game works, right? Like, and my biggest pet peeve, and I actually got really annoyed with you, Scrap, the other day, and I think Chanee was healing us, was I was tanking, and there were all these mechanics that we could have stopped, right? Yeah. You got killed by, Bramble Bolt or whatever it is. Like
I got
4 times.
Yeah, because it hit me twice in a row at the same time. It was within 1 second. I couldn't do anything about
it. Would you have survived it if you'd interrupted?
I would have, but I was busy doing other stuff.
in the inverse of that, right? Like, if you want to go chase Fodum and you play as a Shadow Priest, you should know that your Psychic Scream is one of the best interrupts. Like, or we'll call it crowd controls, right? And Tekniq, I don't expect you because you're not a Fodum chaser, right? But you played your Shadow Priest, and like it's so critical that if you're playing at that high level where you're pushing, because even if you're pushing a 6 but you're in shit gear,
I was pushing, at that high level that we were doing, which I was like 480 eye level doing like a level 5.
You guys started this conversation by bringing up my shaman, okay?
Okay, fair, all's fair. This is why I only play one guy.
But anyways, point is that like, I mean, we've seen some good holy paladins, which again the tier list suggests that's not the case. Yes, I know that when you look at a tier list and you say, okay, well, if I really want to push the highest of the highest, I need to know why, a Shadow Priest profile is going to be the best for 27s or whatever, 17s or whatever now. But what our argument was when we originally made this podcast is that data is no good for the rest of us. And so, while we're obviously tongue-in-cheek with this tier list because it's not a good, fair assessment.
This is not useful in any way, shape, or form.
It's only fun to see that, like, our tier list is entirely different based on what we're seeing in actuality. And, if we were to continue this in a regular season 1 or season 2 where we're playing for the full, 12 plus weeks, we might see some more data that suggest it. And I would like that next time when War Within comes out, we actually do a really, like, concrete data point system for this, Scrap, because I think... Okay. We could really put it in. Yeah.
Frank, what I want to... Oh, yeah, him first.
I want to throw this out there. You may consider this could be more a check on psychologically on yourself, man. I'm looking at 0 people on the S tier and a bunch of tanks at the bottom.
There was a lot of us.
I think you might be a little biased against other tanks.
Yeah, but no, they were
generally negative.
I want to point out that a majority of these came from my prop paladin.
Yeah. But some are coming from Lithium playing DPS. I know Ioski was submitting a couple.
And they're doing a good job.
He's a healer.
They're doing a good job.
I think we encapsulate the masses.
I doubt
he
it.
Said,
You doubt
it, girl. Come on.
Okay. Chanee, you've been quiet there. Any last words?
I feel our tier list is spot on.
Yeah.
Great. Well, one more thing about the tier list. Who the hell had a run with an arcane mage that put him that high?
I did. No, actually.
Any.
And actually, so, okay, we need to put an asterisk on that. I had a run with it.
Mage.
I had a run with it. He joined my group. I didn't know, but he was a friend that I played WoW with, like back in Wrath of the Lich King in BC. Yep. I didn't realize it was him until the end. And he said, "Hey, it's me," right? And he crushed to the point where like he played better than I did. And I was like, "Holy!" And that's the reason why I came up. I was like, "Dude, like, what are you doing? I need to look at your profile." And that's when he said, "Oh, it's me," and yada yada yada. So yeah, there's a little asterisk on there. But it was the only arcane mage I've seen so far. So in fairness, there may be worse out there. Okay,
all right,
so
next topic.
Season 4. Any last words? Scrapclaw, kick us off with what you think, or what you care to say to finish off Season 4.
Oh, I just want to say I'm not finishing Season 4. I'm only like 509 item level. I'm still playing it. So I don't know why everybody says Season 4 is over. I'm enjoying it.
Well, we'll talk about why in just a second. Chanee.
Yeah.
The only Season 4 I'm worried about is in Diablo currently.
Which came out a couple days ago. How's it going so far for you?
It's going great.
What are you maining this go around?
Necro, taking it easy.
I feel like that's what I would want to main. Anyways, Tekniq.
I would want to be a barbarian.
You always want to be a barbarian.
But Season 4 World of Warcraft, man, it had me for a couple of weeks, and I feel like it's fading fast, man. I feel like we're capping out already, and like just everything is happening so quickly. You're able to just kind of max out and get all the things you want. So I like one more week will probably be like, I have to play an alt to continue doing it.
Let me ask this quick question. I'm sorry. Booleans. Mm-hmm. Would you guys think they should make Season 1, 2, 3 Boolean included?
Well, not at this pace.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, you go ahead.
No, we talked about this a bit last week, but I love it as a Season 4 gimmick because it's nice to get that piece of gear that you missed out for weeks and weeks and weeks in Season 1, 2, and 3. But we're seeing the impact of it now where people are already like 523 item level with like 2 or 3 of their best gear. So it's like kind of what do you even shoot for at that point?
Yeah.
But I love Booleans. I think it's I would love to see, I mentioned this last week as well, the same in BFA, they had a reroll system. So you could have a better chance of getting that piece of gear you want, but it wasn't necessarily guaranteed.
Fair enough. I think if they keep Booleans, it's got to be like a very long term.
Oh yeah, you can get one per season, like one item.
Yeah, that might be like maybe do it for the mythic. You know how they gave 2 away for the mythic weekly this last week. Right?
Oh.
Like, just that one time, here, you get to do, your one best in slot.
I have an idea. You know, like for Keystone Master, you get like a tier piece.
Mm-hmm.
They should, for Keystone Master, you should get a heroic piece bullion. And for Keystone, whatever the 3K one is, you should get a mythic bullion.
Well, I think the Booleans already have that kind of inherently built into it, but I maybe instead
no, but like you could have a weapon or a trinket or something.
Yeah, maybe they keep the tier set at 2,000 and then they do
it just like the Keystone Master thing is kind of like we knock it out so quick, and it's like.
Well, we do, but not everyone does.
Yeah, I know that's true. Not everyone does, but it's kind of like you only get it once per season, and same with the Keystone Hero and the Keystone. I don't even remember what the rest are called, the Conqueror or whatever. Like you only get them once per season, and I feel like the 3K one or the 2800 one or whatever the hell, where you just get like slightly more electricity on your shoulders, is really unsatisfying to get. So that could make it really satisfying. Is like, okay, you get a bullion, you get one just for the whole season. Like you can buy one piece of gear. That would be awesome.
Tekniq, do you have anything to add?
I want to know what Shanee's thinking.
Well, Shanee's gonna talk a lot about our next topic, I have a feeling. So I'm not worried about him being a little quieter now. Okay. The truth is his mind is on the new loot system out of Diablo anyways.
I think I don't mind the Boolean system. I would like it if it was like, I'd be okay with a form of it every season. Just you get them slower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
I'm okay with like
I like Scrap's idea
form. Some form of bad luck protection, like Scrap Set or something.
Jesus, like that mug.
This is all my mugs are dirty. This is all I have left. This is my soup mug.
Sorry,
I got my
Chanee.
tea. I got my tea.
Jesus, I'm so sorry,
It's
sorry,
my
Chanee.
soup
I'm
mug.
so
It's the only one
sorry.
I have
I
left.
couldn't help it.
It's all right. Let's move on.
All right. So, I just my thoughts. I honestly, after seeing those parses, I think I'm done with season 4. I'm so disappointed. Just
Oh my
bring me
God,
to
you're
the
such a
beta. Let's
baby.
go. All right. Okay. Main topic. Part 1. Let's talk the event launching tomorrow. We've talked a little bit about this, Scrap. Do you remember anything about time running?
I told you I have very limited memory of this,
so this is only part of our topic. I just a quick rehash. Starting to today, we have a leveling experience from 10 to 70, where you can level through the entire Mists of Pandaria expansion, and it's more curated to be about seeing all the dungeons and scenarios and raids, most importantly for me. But you also have like this huge opportunity to gain any of the transmog or mounts or anything that you loved from Mists of Pandaria. Plus, it allows people who haven't seen the expansion a chance to play it as well. So the big hook in this leveling experience is your Cloak of Infinite Potential. So the story behind it is the Infinite Dragonflight are kind of like, oh, well, now that we've seen the ways of the Bronze Dragonflight, maybe we need to go back and look at some of the things in the past and examine them from a different view. So they take us back there, and that's how the whole thing starts. And they give you this cloak. And the cloak, every time you loot something, you have a chance to loot something that would increase your cloak's power through stamina, crit, all the secondary stats, and also experience gained. And I think the max is like 350%, somewhere in that realm.
Oh, wow.
So the idea is that you can get this cloak leveled up to the highest level when you do your first run through of time running. But then if you have any other classes you want to level, it would be almost 4 times faster. And that doesn't include rested experience if you want to go ahead and get that set up as well. It looks like this will run through August, which is when we expect to see War Within launch within that time frame. But like I pulled up right here on the screen, you can see all the raids and the dungeons you can do within this leveling experience. So you can start raiding at level 25, and apparently looking for raid is like the best way to get experience because you can just keep kind of spamming it. So that all said, Chanee, I know you're super excited about this, so I'm gonna let you start. Mm-hmm. First question, what is the first tune you're going to level?
I'm torn between Warlock and Shaman.
This is the first time hearing about Warlock. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah, same.
Only because I was looking at all the 70s I currently have, and I'm like, I don't have a 70 Warlock or Shaman yet.
So those are the only 2 that are missing from your...
No, DH, Evoker, maybe Warrior. But yeah.
You have no interest in those?
I might, like, there's a chance I'll do all of them if it goes.
Follow-up question?
Like level fast.
Yeah. Well, that was my follow-up question. Do you think you'll stop at the 1?
Depending on how fast 1 is, and then if it's 4 times faster on the next one, I'll probably, it'll give me something to do.
Yeah, and honestly, I did this a little bit on the PTR, and I'd say within maybe 2 to 3 hours, I was like level 30, and
wow.
I don't think it slows down like it normally would for leveling, where you hit level 16, it just slows down to a screeching halt. I don't think it does, but I'm not certain on that. But
my guess is like around 50, it's gonna slow down, I think. But even then, if it's like, if I get to 50 in, let's say, like 4 to 5 hours, and then it's another 3 hours to get the other 20 levels, it's only like 8 hours total.
Well, and the way I see it too is because it all scales, right? So you could be level 50 and I could be level 25, and we could be doing the same raid together. So you could still be doing, like, you could be raiding and getting your levels at the same time and seeing a raid you've never seen before. But also just the idea that, there's different ways you can go about your leveling experience. You could do all dungeons one go, you could do all the zones another go, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. Scrap, what are you gonna level?
I wanted to do something I've never done before. So a monk. I've never played a monk ever, and it's a melee DPS. I think I've locked it in. But I might level if it's really fast, I might use it to level up. Like I have some characters who are at like 50 and 60 who I've played in past expansions, and I'm like, this might be more fun to start from 0 to 70 to get these characters up and just delete the old one,
Yeah.
if it's really fast, because I don't want to do the Dragonflight story again. I'm just kind of over it. So if even like I could just start over and it's more enjoyable to do this, getting the bronzes, or what are they? They're bronzes?
Bronze is the currency. Yeah.
Yeah. If I need to collect more transmog and stuff, I'd rather do that.
I think to call that out, a lot of people, like I was watching a YouTube video from Kalani, and he was saying like, this is your opportunity to not have to pay Blizzard for a name change or a race change or a server change.
Yeah, just make a new one.
It's just like, once you've done it, like go level another one, it'll take you 3 hours or whatever, and that will save you the $60 or however they charge now. So yeah, there's definitely a good call out there. Maybe this is the chance I move Frankenberry to Proudmoore.
Yeah.
Tekniq, are you even going to play this nonsense?
I mean, I hate content that's like, hey, spend a bunch of hours to get a transmog, because that's essentially like what it is.
Well, no, it's leveling too.
Leveling. They're giving you the levels.
Did a car just explode outside?
Let me. I want to preface with some Chanee takes, okay?
Okay.
I appreciate this. I appreciate there's a lot of people out there that are gonna love this. I'm not one of them, and that's okay. I think.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you guys want to enjoy it. I think that, if you want this type of thing, great. For me, going in and mindlessly spending 3-4 hours doing content to get another character to max level, it's not fun for me. The only reason I might do it is because I still don't have my Warrior's Heritage armor unlocked, because although I unlocked the
Didn't you race change?
It'd be worth it to do Heritage armor.
Didn't they take away that restriction though, that you have to go from 1 to 70?
They didn't take it away, no, but they said that this would qualify for it.
They took away the exalted one. Right, they used to have to be exalted with them also.
Yeah, to be able to play the allied races, yes.
No, to even unlock the heritage armor, you had to be exalted with that faction, in addition to having gone from 1 to 70, but they took that away.
If I can level from 1 to 74 hours, I have a character that's 63 that I will delete to go from 1 to 74 hours instead of doing Dragonflight again.
I kind of agree with that, but I feel
that's assuming it's 4 hours.
My main worry is like everybody's talking about it's happening so fast. Like you tried it, and we've seen some streamers tried it happen so fast. I really don't think that's the answer to fixing leveling. I know that like probably a lot of the community is like, oh, I just want to level faster, but I'm a little bit. I'm wondering if, like, obviously if you want to level fast, maybe just slamming LFR over and over again, you can do it in 4 hours. But I'm like, if it's only going to be a 10-hour experience, how am I going to get all the story content of Pandaria? Am I really going to be able to knock out all the quests in 10 hours? Like,
crap, I think our next question, you and I are going to line up with my answers.
Yeah, I know. You and I have similar opinions.
I have a great idea. I think a great idea.
So, not only do we have, obviously, this entire leveling experience, right? Which transmogs galore, that's going to be fun. But a little piece of the Plunderstorm pie is coming into this as well, because you will not only have your own talent trees that you see in Dragonflight, so it's not the Pandaria talent trees, it's what we have now. You'll see Evokers, you'll see Demon Hunters, which you didn't see in Mists.
Where's he going?
I don't know. But hopefully it'll allow him to recenter himself, because he wasn't centered a second ago.
Higher, we can't see it. Put it up to the camera.
It's just cashews.
Oh, cashews. Okay, why are they over there?
I have a dispensary.
That's where the tree grows.
Back on topic.
M&Ms.
But the other thing that's going on, as you guys get distracted, is the gear will have the ability to be socketed with other spells. So here, we'll look at the gems.
Oh, like
nobody cares.
Classic. I think it's kind of fun.
So green level gears will have 1 socket, blue will have 2, and then the purple will have 3. So like, I mean, you're not only going to have your own stuff, but I honestly think this content, to maybe the detriment of what Tekniq might like, will be so easy to do, because like you'll have so many tools in your arsenal to make sure you don't die, to make sure you can heal yourself back up even if you don't have heals, yada yada yada.
I'm gonna throw in right quick, dude. I'm sorry to cut you off because I'm doing it anyway, but
how dare you?
If you're taking a new player to World of Warcraft and saying, "Hey, come and do this,"
no, that's not what they're aiming. That's not what they're aiming.
That's what
nobody coming to World of Warcraft new.
This isn't
not one person is playing WoW for the first time.
Hold on. We will talk about in a second what we think the best way to manage a leveling experience would be. And there's 2 paths that we have to walk there. A new player and the player who wants to get alts, right? I think that this is I mean, they're catering it because you have to have a WoW sub, but you don't have to have Dragonflight. If you're a new player, you're not going to just jump in without buying the game, right? You'd be playing Dragonflight. And again, we'll get into, like, they may still play it because the leveling system in Dragonflight is not perfect for a new player, but that's another topic. This is like an alt grab bag, right? That's the way I'm viewing this. Hey, War Within's, and they keep saying it, War Within's coming up. You might want to get a new tune. Instead of having to level it the old traditional way, let's just have a big old time of fun with nonsense and chaos and whatever. We don't care if it's busted. We don't care if it's not tuned well. Like, just go have some fun and enjoy yourselves. That's what I'm seeing out of this, right? So,
and I like that. I like that we're getting that. I just hope that this doesn't replace the design for leveling.
No, I don't think it will be.
Well, no, I don't know. I don't know that you can even say I don't think it will be, because people like the community wants to level.
You definitely can.
You
can't think it.
Well, you can, but it's like, I don't think this is in that just because they're doing this for an alt grab bag doesn't mean that they're not going to take a look at the reception and say, hey, is this how we should refocus leveling? Because that's what I'm afraid of, because I like this as a grab bag, but I don't like it as a primary leveling.
Well, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. So anyways, Chanee, I think you're going to be the foremost expert on this because you were the most excited about it. Anything that I've forgotten to talk about that you think is worth mentioning?
I think, like, for the people that aren't excited about it, a lot of people didn't play Mists of Pandaria. I think it's a great expansion. If you want to play it through and just get the story, there's no reason you can't. Like, it doesn't matter if you get to level 70, the quests are still going to be there if you want to see all the story. And it's just like a really fun way to play with your friends. And if they're just starting into Pandaria and you're above them, like you said, we can raid together, and I don't have to be like, oh wait, let me go make a tune and get it to your level.
Yeah, and not only that, but you can raid at any level. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
like, yeah.
Just all of it. Like, it's going to be really fun, and I think that's good to have in WoW sometimes. And if you want to do harder, more other, like you said, everyone has a sub, so if we want to, like, smash our head, I can go do the old raid with you guys and think about why I don't want to raid with you guys.
And okay, so just one little point to that though. We're in an environment where you can level an alt so quickly, but not only that, get into raiding so quickly that isn't consequential, that isn't making people upset because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And the gear, is kind of like it's not that they don't matter, but it's like it's all fine. Like, there's no fighting over best in slots or anything like that. You really kind of get everything you need, and then it's all about transmogs and mounts and all that fun stuff. But I want to just see the content. I want to see Throne of Thunder. I want to see Siege of Orgrimmar, right?
Yeah, I do
because
too.
At this
14
point,
seconds. That's what it's going to take for you to finish it.
We don't
even know
LFR or easier difficulty.
Well, yeah, LFR. No, but there'll be a heroic version, Mike. There'll be heroic Siege of Orgrimmar at level 70.
I will show up for raid Tuesday and Thursday to do Panda raiding.
Okay. I need to set up the signups right now.
I will be there. I'm pumped. It'll be fun. It's just, like, nice to have a little change. Yeah. If people don't want to do it, that's super okay too. Like, that's what's great about WoW. There's so many things in it that you can choose to do and not do, and everyone does different stuff.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone's enjoying it today as they listen to this podcast. Let's move on to our main topic today, which is, how do we fix leveling? So to preface this topic, Tekniq, you shared a video from Day 9, who was a StarCraft 2 streamer, and recently just played WoW for the first time. At least that's the impression I got. But there's another video from I think his name is Jimmy.
That was his first time playing WoW.
Yeah. Another big video that I've seen on YouTube from a person named Jimmy, I think is his name, where he essentially talks about his experience with WoW. And it was kind of echoing the same thing Day 9's was, which was, there's so much going on in the story of WoW at this point, 20 years in, that there's no way we can expect for a new player to come in without the assistance of, like, a guild that carries them into the content and explains what the heck's going on. Without, weak auras we could talk about, but we're not going to focus on that today. But, like, there's no way that I could even comprehend what the heck's going on in Dragonflight without knowing what happened to Deathwing, or even what happened to the Lich King, because there's some stuff about the Paladins and the Death Knights that's going on in the story, or, you know, Evokers and how they came to be. Even going into patch, you know, season 4, like the Evoker story is not even present the second I hit level 70 right now. So I tasked y'all with coming up with a better way to fix leveling. You guys have the keys to the kingdom. You get to sit the devs down and say, this is how we're going to do it. Scrap, you're going last because I know you'll take the most time.
I know, I have so much.
No, wait.
So
let Scrap go first because I have my timer ready.
Okay.
Scrap
All
go.
right.
I just, you know what you're going to make me do is just make me talk super fast.
No, take your time. All right, Scrap, kick us off. What would you do to fix leveling?
Okay, so I kind of want to look in the past of what leveling experience I think are good, because I don't think I love classic leveling through Wrath of the Lich King, but I don't think anybody is down to return to that. I think gaming, like on all levels, has changed, and so gamers aren't as patient. You know, like we're not as tolerant of things that are janky, and it needs to be kind of a polished, streamlined experience. But I think what they did in Kata was perfect, because it was kind of like a reset. It's like, okay, so we have these areas that are janky. It's like, okay, Ashara has like 4 quests in it. Like it's different than, and then you go to the Barrens, and the Barrens has like 40 quests, and Stranglethorn can take you from level 25 to level 35. It just doesn't make sense. It's not balanced. So they were like, okay, let's redesign it. Every zone gives you 5 levels. Every zone has a story. Like if you stick it out through the whole story, you get a rarer item. You know, you get a satisfying finale to whatever's going on. You get to meet like the races, the characters, and there's like a very organic like jump from zone to zone. You know, it still is.
Would you put it on a track? Would you say like you have to go to this zone?
No, but that's what I loved about Cataclysm, is that there were lead-ins to other zones, and I like that it's like you had 3 or 4 options. Like if you want to go from 25 to 30, and you're like, well, you know, like I need a change of pace. This is like the 3rd red desert biome in Kalimdor. Like I want to go to the other side of the continent. Like there was some sort of lead-in to kind of get you over there. I understand this is a very hard ask, because like nowadays, like they only want to, you know, revamping leveling content is not something that the majority of players necessarily want to see. They want stuff that's just like, effort,
yeah.
I worry that it would, because
ignore that for this exercise though.
I know. I'm just trying to keep in mind that the majority of the players are people who have played it for a long time, do have like end game characters. If they want to level an alt, it's not their primary sort of thing. Like the only reason they're leveling is if like, oh, there's a new class, Death Knight, Evoker, you know, Demon Hunter, whatever. Like I want to try something new, but they start higher typically. So anyways, getting back on track. What I would do is, if they could have some sort of event like Cataclysm, they're gonna have to be creative, think of something slightly different to kind of like unify everything. You know, I would love to get back to Kalimdor Eastern Kingdoms. I'm a big fan. You know, and they need to introduce these. Yeah. They need to reintroduce these characters. Like, tell me who Thrall is. Tell me who Jaina is. I don't need the whole history of the fucking world and everything. It's too much at this point. It's gone very MCU. Like, it's like you literally can't just jump in without knowing 10,000 characters. It's like there has to be a way to streamline this story down. Give me the big players. Show me the big events. You know, you got freaking Bronze Dragonflight and Chromie already built into the story. You can show me big events, and just make it cleaner. I wouldn't speed up leveling. I know that's what like this like Pandaria design philosophy is. Like I think it should be, you know, it should.
How many hours do you think it should be?
How many hours?
Yeah. Let's say your first time. Don't worry about the alt part of it. Just like, hey, welcome to World of Warcraft. This is what you should expect.
I'm thinking design from like Kata is that like you spend like 20 to 30 hours leveling to like the new content. No, not to the cap, to the 10 before the cap. Okay, and then it should be an additional like 15, 20 hours to the cap.
So
only for you,
50 hours
because you read the quests.
Yeah, obviously you can speed through it if you want, but this is for like if you just do the quests and are kind of meandering about. That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's not like if you're breakneck pace, it shouldn't take you 30 hours. There should be like if people want to speed through it, they can. But for people like me who want to experience a story, you know, I'm interested in the world and the settings and the music and the art and things like that. You know, give me roses to smell, right? Like I think I'd be happy with a 40-hour leveling experience or more, 40 to 60. I mean, if you buy a $60 game, you know, if you don't get 60 hours out of it, you're like, I've been ripped off. So like, I think the same, you know.
How long does it take to level? And I'm pulling up Google right now. to level in Final Fantasy 14 the first time?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really know. Oh, just going through the first expansion, I did it in like a week and a half.
No, but no,
I did like 1 to 60 in like 2 weeks. So it was maybe 30 hours.
Well, I've heard some like insane number, like it was.
It's long.
Like,
so
like
the thing
100
is,
hours or something.
Yeah, no, it is, because in Final Fantasy 14 you do not have a choice to not do the main story. Like you literally, like you will cap on level before you finish the main story. Like
All right, we need to cut this answer because you're cutting into everything else that.
Hey, you're flashbanging me also with your screen, Frank.
Me? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, can you?
There we go. No, so
I minimized it.
the this is a forum, so I don't know how accurate, but like someone said 200 to 300 hours, right? Now,
yeah, no, that is true. To get all the way to max level and finish all the quests,
time.
something like that. Yeah, it's obscene. It's. I stopped at like, at like 50 hours. I was like, okay, I'm over this totally.
Okay. How would you change it for the people who are leveling alts?
I like heritage armor, heirloom armor, and stuff like that. Like if you want to level an alt, skip through it faster, you can. I want more of just like the design should be like that you're encouraged more to take it slow than to take it fast. Like you can take it fast, but like give me a really good story. Give me like good music and really beautiful sights, things, waterfalls, things I want to see. And I think more people would surprise them by taking their time with it,
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. Okay, how long was that, Chanee?
It was actually
Frank was asking me questions, so he kind of
5 minutes. You were like 5 minutes, pretty much on the button. Super good job, Scrap.
All right, Chanee, beat that time.
Oh God, I can't beat that time. Which way?
Go more.
Shorter for more. Leveling wise, I can agree with some of what Scrap said. I think if I was like given the keys to like somehow streamline this, I would have as you're leveling, there would be a lot of stuff in your character. I'm like, you get this new skill, you have to like use it so many times in the proper way. So you like have a better understanding as your character as you level, because I feel like people get stuff and they're just like, what's this do? And they never really know how to use it. Also, I think WoW is a super big world, but I would be as happy if they like start me at the same place always, and then give me like 3 paths always, but like a lot of cinematics in between to tell me the story that I'm missing, so I don't have to like play a lot of the story that I'm missing. I would lean more to like first time through, you can't skip a bunch of stuff. Alt wise, you can skip a bunch of stuff and go as fast as you humanly can. That's I'm with Scrap Scum. I think if they do a good job of the story, people want to see it. But I'm also like alt wise, as someone who has a lot, I like to get through it on alt because I'm not as worried.
Yeah.
But I think leveling wise, they could do a better job of explaining to you or forcing you to learn how to play your character.
I agree with that too. That's not even something I thought of. It's like, yeah. You don't know how to play your character when you get to endgame currently.
Well, and again, my thought process is not about playing your character, it's about playing mechanics, right? Like so, like they'd be like we'll call it quick time events, right?
Players definitely both.
Yeah. But I mean, like the just my envisionment of how to solve that particular problem of how do you teach someone how to use their psychic scream, as we talked about earlier. Like I would have like a quick time event of sorts where it's like, okay, here's a moment where we're purposely catering a point where you should use an AoE, stop, and it would just like slow down and say, you should use your psychic scream, or if I'm a mage, you should use your dragon's breath, or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be. Sorry, go on.
Just do it like the games that make it super simple. Like they give you a scenario and they say you got to use psychic scream properly 5 times to move on.
Well,
like I'm okay with making it super dumb.
The problem is that like I feel like the game does kind of show you like you gotta don't stand behind or in front of a dragon, like and like I'm talking about like the exiles reach or whatever. They introduce you to your stun, your interrupt, and some basic stuff, but the nuances of your rotation you have no fucking clue. Like if you get to 70 so fast you don't get a chance to figure out am I doing well or poorly.
Either way, I would like something in there for new players. I guess that's my point.
I agree. I think we all agree with that.
Leveling.
Yeah.
Something to help people have a better.
My concern with this idea of like use Psychic Scream 5 times is that with 39 specs or whatever, that it would be so time consuming. And I know we said that like everything's on the table, but like, is it really worth the juice worth the squeeze in this point? I would say instead it's like I would make an entire leveling experience where I want to introduce interrupts and AoE stuns and whatever throughout the whole thing. Every class can go through it, but whenever a class that does have one, like I would try to code it so it says, okay, let's slow things down here for a second. Hey, priest, this would be a really good chance for you to use Psychic Scream. And they see it 5 times throughout the leveling experience or whatever. They don't have to like complete the checkpoint or else they can't move on. But it's like, hey, remember this thing? Use it. And that's where they like, oh yeah, okay. And by the time they hit 70, they've done it so many times they go, oh, this would be the perfect time to do it again.
But
like that's what I'm envisioning.
Feeling frustrated. I can understand feeling frustrated the first time you get like into a dungeon experience and you've had your hand held all this time. It's like, this is when you use Psychic Scream. You're like, okay, I'm ready for Psychic Scream graduation. Like I've nailed it and stuff. And it's like your DPS is dog shit because you don't know how to play your rotation. So we talked about this before, but what I would do is more difficult single target content, like Brawler's Guild, Mage Tower type stuff, where it's like you will not succeed if you're not playing your class in a more sophisticated way.
Okay, hold on. Do you believe Blizzard should be the one teaching that data at that point?
Yeah, it's their game.
I don't think it needs to hold your hand that much, but I do like I think you feel like you're not being taught so much as you are just like learning from like a Mage Tower experience.
Okay, Tekniq, you had your hand up.
Yeah, he's got his hand up.
I did, man. So I want to answer the original question. I think that for new players coming to WoW, that Blizzard should develop like an all new start to finish campaign that kind of takes you through all of the content for your faction so much. I actually personally still prefer faction, but as you get into the problem, so one problem is like the current leveling experience kind of drops you into World of Warcraft where a bunch of shit's already changed and you're like in the past, literally in the past when you start your character. That shouldn't be the case. I think you should all be dropped into the present and somehow you're kind of revisiting these places and still learning about. I don't mean like Chromie Time drop me into the past and let me play it again, but maybe Chromie Time in the sense that like you're teaching me through the story and allowing me to re-experience it without traveling time. So
I mean, that's what they
seems
did.
like a simple cheat to get the content back. But
yeah, that's what they did with Kata. Everything was current. It's like Death Knight just came through and fucked everything up, and it's like everybody is on the same timeline.
You mean Deathwing?
So I also think
Deathwing.
I also think that like you don't really need like Mage Tower experiences if the leveling is similar to Classic difficulty, because like when you got a new spell in Classic, like you had to use it or you would just die.
Not necessarily, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of cases, you couldn't just frostbolt things to death in 2 or 3 hits. You had to frost nova them and then get some distance and continue to frostbolt. Or if you pulled 2, you would have to like use your spells, like sheep something. You had to actually like play the game. Which if you watch Day 9's thing, the current leveling experience is like 80% cinematics, and all of a sudden you're 70, you got 50 spells to use, and you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the case. I think, like Scrap and everybody else said, like you got to slow it down. If you're leveling a character for the first time, you probably don't want to just instantly be 70. And if you do, you can just buy that. Just pay the money. And if you have an alt, I think I'm not a big fan of like heirloom things because it really, I like having a buff for XP, but I don't like not getting new items while I'm leveling. So like while I'm leveling, I like to be like, oh shit, I just got a sword from a dungeon that I just did, and I earned this new item. You don't get that when your heritage armor is always. Okay, I don't.
Just socket gear with a 100% XP gain.
Well, you could just do it with like if I'm leveling an alt, I could just like either A, spend gold to buy some item that says I can buff my alt with XP for a few hours or days, or B, buy the alt for money.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a barrier I don't want to be playing with at all. Like I don't want to say like, oh, if you want to just pay money.
Well, Blizzard would certainly take that. All
sure.
those people up there just
Your boy
money.
Bodyconic is the reason why that's the case.
For those of us that have played for 25 years, I should be able to buy a character if I really want to. Fine.
Of course, yeah.
Or
of course.
Maybe I have a gold option to buy it. Fine.
You do.
But that's not really the question. The question is, how do you fix the leveling experience? I think make a new campaign that is challenging, that introduces your spells at a pace that makes sense, that is in the current timeline, that you don't have to like go back to all the other timelines. The only thing I would really, as far as like how long should it take, to answer your other question, I think it should take about as long as it did in Classic, but maybe you get your flight paths to your new zones without having to like run there first. And then B, like maybe you get your mount at like 20 and not 40. That's really all I would personally change, because
I like that. Yeah.
I like the travel. I don't like porting everywhere. I think it really shrinks the game. And one of the most impressive things about the game to me as a new player was, wow, this game's like fucking massive. And I like loved to zone between, the different areas, and didn't necessarily love walking to all of them, but like being on your flight path and like just watching the world below you and seeing other players doing their thing was really new. No other game really did that, and I don't know that many other games still do that. So,
all right,
that's kind of my take.
All right, let's go through my take real quick, and then we'll kind of start pinning back to. Is that okay?
I just want to say leveling should, for me, 20 hours at most.
I was going to say, so far, for the most part, we all agree. I think the only thing we disagree with is on the time.
Well, so here's my idea, okay? The message I got from both the videos, now granted, there were some other things that were part of it too, like, I mean, how do I learn spells, etc. But the message I got was, if I'm going to invest in this game, I need to know what the hell's going on, right? And what I would do is I think the leveling time it took to get to level 16 Classic, if you take out all the travel time of waste, because there's still some travel time that I think was good, but like all the like running back and forth in the Barrens from the same thing 3 times, like that,
the
right?
quest would send you from here to there and then back to there.
Yeah, and like maybe reduce like Hearthstone cooldown.
Well, what I would do is, what I would do is I would say, I would like build in this concept of whenever there was a long travel, like from one zone to another, I would like make the quest giver go like, hey, just use my horse, and you could get on a mount for that period and then not have access to the mount, when you're questing in that area kind of thing. And of course, using flight paths as well. Like, hey, we're going to send you to the, Eastern Plaguelands, go. And then they send you to the Eastern Plaguelands instead of running for 6 hours. But for me, what I would imagine as the best way to make people fall in love with the game, because the gameplay is there. Yes, of course, when you get to level 70, you may not learn all the things you need to, but the truth is that some people may not even care about performing really well in the dungeon. They don't have DBM or details up. They're just like, oh, this is so cool, and look at my explosions go off, yada, yada, yada. Like, that is enough for them. But the message I got was like Day 9's constantly asking like, what the hell's going on here? Like, there's all these people talking about, hell, who's Thrall, who's Jaina, who's whatever. Like, this chick just got arrested and yada 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 in Battle for Azeroth. So what I would do is I would curate a previously on WoW, like 20 years of WoW data.
Yeah.
And hit the major points that matter the most to the overall story, and have it go through every expansion. It would be at a breakneck speed, but what I would do instead of making it just like constant cinematic is, it's like, take the zone, take all the fluff out of it, take all those, side quests that really didn't do anything other than collect boar's meat for someone, and really drive a narrative of, why am I in Outlands? Why am I in Northrend? Give him a chance to really take in what the Lich King was trying to do, get the story beats of, oh my god, old Undercity was taken over, and now here's why we're in Dragonblight, Naxxramas is floating up above, and even allow for, especially now that you can do the dungeon runs with your NPCs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to see the fall of the Lich King before I move on. And yeah, I don't want to do the whole raid, but like make a mini raid of 3 bosses where I see, Syndragosa, and I see Lich King, and I see whoever else is a big major player in that, right? And give me an opportunity to invest with, oh, that was Lich King, and that was really important. We got him, or hell, there's sometimes like we didn't get him and they ran away, and Kel'Thuzad didn't, get this and that. And it would feel a little breakneck, but you could even have these kind of like, Chromie or Khadgar narrating like, this is what happened after this, and give like a little mini cinematic just to fill in the details that weren't able to be done through questing or whatever. I think it should take, let's just say for the sake of argument that questing in Classic was 50 hours to get to level 60, right? I think that, anywhere from 30 to 50, 40, whatever, would be good, because don't rush them into the end game. The end game has countless and countless of hours of gameplay in it if you really do love that kind of thing. But people won't invest in why Ruby Life Pools not only is a banger of a dungeon, but also has other merits to it of the lore and just the consequences or whatever. Dawn of the Infinites, right? Like a great dungeon on its own, but I don't understand the Bronze Dragonflight at all, then I'm not going to care what the hell Chromie's talking about.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I think it should be more stretched out. Afterwards, alts, all that fun stuff. Do like the remixes, like, maybe every other week is a new remix, and if anyone wants to level on alts, that's the time to go for it. Or you could even take the same experience and just like throw crazy quantifier, multipliers on top of that to make it that you can do the same thing too if you'd rather, and move at lightning speed. But yeah, for me, like, I want to know what happened in the Firelands. I want to know what happened at Mount Hyjal. I want to know what happened, with Deathwing. And especially with the new technology that allows for NPCs to play in the raid with you, it doesn't matter if they don't play well at that point. I agree with Tekniq that there should be more challenge to it. I wouldn't ramp it up to the ability like, oh, we can't get past this raid boss because, I'm not healing fast enough or whatever.
Yeah, I think some of that content, like as far as like not cinematic, but like you're ready to move to the next patch. Like here we are, kind of finishing up this content. That probably should be more like it is today, where it's like you just go and you do it. But as far as like playing your character day to day, I feel like you should be able to die.
Yeah. Like, I mean, make the questing a little more consequential, because I think that's those are the moments where you're kind of in it on your own solo venture. But when you do the Illidan raid Black Temple,
story-based
that's just like the cinematic of it. Like you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And holy cow, he just flew up in the air, yada yada. And that's just for the fun of it. So yeah, that's like the way I'm envisioning it. And I agree that it should be more, because that's the one thing I agree with Scrap on Classic of why it was fun, is like the idea of this exploration. The world, one, didn't feel like everything was a dire consequence of the world ending.
I love that design, that writing design. I've mentioned it to you before, but I liked how in Classic, like, you were just a guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're just a guy. You're kind of like, you go into a new town, they're like, hey, you guy, go get boar meat. Like,
yeah,
you're just
we're out of weapons. We need help.
I don't love. I'm trying to think. I think probably after Wrath of the Lich King is where it started to be like, you're the guy. Like you're the hero. You're the
Everyone's
champion.
a hero.
Yeah, everybody's down with you. You're the chosen one. You're the only one who can walk through the Shadowlands. You're the only one who can do this, do that, do that. I don't personally like that style of storytelling, because it's a bit awkward when it's like I run into a group and it's like, oh, we're all the, what was the Maw
We're all the man
or whatever.
now.
Like, yeah, what was the guy called in Shadowlands? Maw Walker?
Yeah, Maw Walker.
Or whatever. Yeah, it's like I'm like the only Maw Walker in the story, and then they're like, oh, like, yeah, go do a raid with what, 30 other Maw Walkers. It's it's just like it was immersion breaking, right? We can't all be the guy.
I agree with that entirely.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean,
let the heroes be the heroes.
I feel like that's the turn they took, though. I think that's the turn they took, though, back in the Dragonflight, where it wasn't, we are the only ones, like
I think that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like the War Within will also be that way.
I think Dragonflight storytelling, the leveling story, honestly, I felt similar about the Shadowlands leveling story, which is ridiculous. But like, before they start reintroducing all these characters and storylines from before, it was a pretty clean story. It's like there's like a bunch of MacGuffins. You got to go pick them up. You kind of see how each of these zones is living and how they interact with like the Dragonflights and stuff. And it's simple, and I feel like most people could pick it up even without paying attention to much dragon content through the leveling experience. I think to your point, Frank, there's so much fucking story at this point. Like there's books, there's side quests, there's like every expansion has like the leveling story, but then there's all the twists and turns that come with each raid and stuff like that. I almost wonder, can we divest, like, because some of like all the past, like Shadowlands definitely and Dragonflight is so reliant on you kind of knowing like who Ysera is and why she's a big deal. It's like
Tyrande.
Yeah, who Tyrande is, and it's like who Alexstrasza is, and like in like Old Gods and stuff like that. Can we like maybe in another expansion we need to bring in some new stories that don't rely on you knowing so much about all this horseshit that's come before. Like
horseshit.
Well, if you fix this leveling thing though, you would know who Tyrande is a little more at least.
Yes, I think that would be good, but I just think like this, like all the twists shouldn't be like, relying on, oh, remember this character from this like a long time ago, sort of thing, or like Andrea needs to be rescued again. Like they just they're rehashing stuff that, for a new player it's very overwhelming. It's like who are these guys? Who's Sindragosa?
Sean.
Yeah, I think you're going to run into a problem though, because from the way they're explaining it, these next 3 expansions are tying up all these loose ends. So until those are done, you're going to have problem's not the right word, but like they make it sound like the next 3 expansions are tying up all these loose ends. So yeah, there'll be a ton of reference to past stuff for at least.
I also think it's impossible to say that in a Warcraft universe, like you're going to have the major players always. Like even if it's
referential by nature.
Even if you introduce the new, like okay, so let's use the new Black Dragonflight leader. What's his name again? Ebonhorn.
Nobody knows. He's
right.
New.
Let's say they go, okay, he's the new main character, but like 2 expansions from now, it'll also be the same problem that Sindragosa had, or whoever, right? Or Malygos. So like for me, this is the whole point of that new leveling experience. And okay, let's use Dragonflight as an example. I would, if I were to, 10 expansions, 40 hours worth of content. That's what, 4 hours per expansion, right?
Yeah.
To get to level what will be 70 for War Within. So you have 40 hours, 4 hours per expansion. We have 4 hours of content for Dragonflight in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I would cut almost all of the leveling experience stories that don't pertain to Raszageth, right?
Yeah.
Or, I would move immediately on to Raszageth as a story.
You can almost just literally just stick to only the campaign and even shrink that some.
Well, even the campaign, because like, Alexstrasza is a little bit of it, but like, I don't need to know about Caligos's blue Dragonflight story.
Oh, but I love Caligos.
I'm not saying take him out of the game. I'm saying like, use those for Chromie time.
So here's the problem I see with that. And to me, it's an elephant in the room. To most people, maybe not. Is that a lot of the stories are not very good. Like, especially if you
Shadowlands would be a problem.
Yeah, I know. Like, how do you break Shadowlands down to 4 hours without somebody going like,
let's do Shadowlands instead.
It certainly doesn't have to be even.
It's really
no.
Time waster.
So Shadowlands could start with us going into the portal of the mall.
No, but
we meet the jailer.
I'm not saying it's too much story. I'm saying it's not good story.
Sure, but like you can't like erase the history.
Objective opinion statements.
But maybe,
I mean it's universally agreed.
I mean they retcon stuff all the fucking time. So,
I know, but I don't think like I say for the sake of this. We need to know who the jailer is, because his argument of like
I was doing this I still don't know who the jailer is.
You didn't give a shit though. That's point
I know,
is
because it was so bad.
Point is though, like you could take 4 hours of Shadowlands story, and it may not be the best of all the expansion stories, but you could make at least the ending might not be great.
I'm not arguing that you couldn't. I'm arguing that you shouldn't.
I would say you should, right?
It's not
because that's like saying take your favorite book and throw the worst chapter out of it. Like, no, that doesn't work.
I would not read this fucking book, honestly. As somebody who's read a lot of the Warcraft books, dude, no. Like this is.
You wouldn't want to read about Lich King and hell, even Deathwing and.
I have read the Deathwing book and the Lich King book and a lot of the really old books. No, but I'm trying to think of the whole expansion stories. If those were books, they would not be good books, man. They would not be. So you're gonna lose people.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so
you're gonna lose people though?
I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it this way. I'm just bringing up this problem.
Yeah, Chanee, I agree with you.
If they have to tell the whole story, they have to acknowledge that there's a lot of the story that people are going to be like, wow, this is bad.
I think you're overestimating how much people are even going to care about the story.
I think Scrap, the point isn't to say this is a great story. It's more of just like, I want to tell you the encyclopedia of what WoW is about, right?
Yeah.
Good and bad. Okay. I mean, the way I look at it is this: like classic, you have some really good story beats with Onyxia, and you have some good story beats with, Cthulhu or whatever, Cthulhu, and then you have even you could do like Zul'Gurub and Hakar. You could do Naxxramas because that technically was in that if you wanted to. And then of course Burning Crusade. There's all sorts of stuff with Lady Vash and the Kel'Thalas and even the Sunwell, right? Like no one, not gonna say no one, a ton of people didn't see the Sunwell raid, right?
I know. I still feel like I prefer, like I said before, something like Cataclysm that refers to some of these things, but it's like you don't, it's.
But hold on, Scrap. It's not what you prefer. It's what a new player would prefer.
This is what I think a new player would prefer. Is that like if you wanted to, go on.
If you're only alluding to or hinting to, then we're in the exact same problem we are now, where people are like, I don't get the story.
It worked really fine in Classic, because Classic was a world that already existed, and we just see pieces of all the history that happened before, and I think that was fine. But I'm also somebody who enjoys like games that don't give you direct storytelling, so maybe that's
I can understand that. Yeah. Again, Scrap. Like, I mean, think of Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2 and all the Warcraft stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, there were a couple obviously world-ending threats, but we've been through so much more. And not to mention, Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3, while they did have a story, they had a very light story. Like in Warcraft 3, it took 2 games, the expansion and the main, to explain Arthas's just backstory of becoming the Lich King, right?
And that's the pace that I think works. I don't think 4 hours for expansion is the way to go, because it's gonna be breakneck, and you're not gonna get the good stuff of the story. You're just gonna get the spark notes.
Maybe, and you could argue like, hey, well, maybe we make it 80 hours and every expansion's 8 hours. Like maybe. I would say that's like a focus group question for the new players, right?
I would say the only reason I don't think like personally 80 hours would be good is because I feel like people would not give a game 80 hours
to get
up maximum.
Yeah, I think they would. It's just a question of whether it would
300 hours.
Okay, you're taking a game in Final Fantasy that has a whole bunch of people that already love Final Fantasy that are playing this game of Final Fantasy way down the road.
It's the only MMO rival to WoW.
Realistically,
hold on.
Competitor.
What I'm saying is, if I was to play Final Fantasy, I don't want it to be 8 hours because I don't have this like grand love of. I like Final Fantasy games, but I'm not like disinvested. So,
Chanee,
WoW doesn't have
Scrap,
that.
let him finish.
Okay, sorry.
Where WoW doesn't have like, if you're coming to WoW for the first time, it isn't because you played like WoW the RPG or WoW the other thing. We're in Final
14,
Fantasy
16, 18.
Yeah, like in Final Fantasy, a lot of people are playing their MMO because they've played the other Final Fantasies.
Can I correct you really quick though? Because I just have to correct really quick because Final Fantasy 14 is not referential to any of the Final Fantasy. It's not. It's in a different universe, different timeline. There's
sure, but just the name. I think the name alone could be a draw.
Name alone is.
But I just want to correct you is that coming into a new player to Final Fantasy, you're starting at square one. You don't need to know anything about any of the other games.
I know you don't need. I'm saying people are going to play it because it's called Final Fantasy.
I want to remind you all
excited into it
that like this is the problem that I think needs to be solved. There are players who will come in and say, I played Warcraft 3 when I was, I played this years ago, or I know about Warcraft from whatever other references.
People who are alive?
No, what I'm saying is people our age, right? We wouldn't want this experience. This is not an experience that I think any of us would ultimately want because we want like the fast, super fast, like get me to the end game. That's where I want to be. I'm wondering how do we capture new players that like are Gen Zs, right? And so Spark Notes are kind of the solve for that because that's my understanding of Gen Zs is they like that quick content, right?
Yeah.
But like again, for me, it's not about the story, whatever the story's told. It's like how do we make them fall in love with the setting?
I
agree with you. Yeah.
I gotta counter that, man, because at the time, think about when World of Warcraft launched, man. Not other games were like most games were kind of fast paced, quick, get it done, complete
You think?
it.
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I can
go
see
the
A Call of
opposite.
Duty match could have
opposite.
lasted 30 minutes back then, and now Call of Duty matches last like 5.
Okay.
AAA
I can get through a Warzone game, which is like 100 players. I can get through a Warzone game faster
How
than I
many
would.
MMOs though? I mean, I get it. If
Well, no
like
other
the
MMO exists right now. You know, for the most
false,
part.
as we speak about Final Fantasy.
Sure, but Final Fantasy's like gatekeeping is that you have to go through an 800-hour experience to play it.
I mean, that's
Bro,
the real
and
evidence. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a line between 4 hours current WoW and fucking 8,000 hours or whatever Final Fantasy takes.
Yeah.
I personally haven't played Final Fantasy, so I can't really accurately speak to that. But I feel like some of our suggestions are actually pretty good.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not. I want to be clear on that. I'm not saying my thought process is like the objective, right? Because that's what do we need to solve for, right?
Yeah,
so,
but you
what's
can't
your
leave
answer to
everything
that
behind
question?
either. Like,
no, I agree.
Like definitely, like the travel stuff we discussed. Like, dude, nobody liked walking from fucking
Barrens
Mulligore
to 16
to
other
the
places,
Barrens,
yeah.
and then back, and then waiting 40 minutes for your Hearthstone to cool down. Like, just give the flight path, man. Like, it's cool.
Sure.
Like, we want to see it, but we don't want to have to necessarily traverse it manually for 30 fucking minutes.
Well, I know that like my patience is a lot higher, and like I did other stuff. Like I wasn't expecting a game to capture me for like 8 hours at a time like I do now. Whereas like when I played Classic, it's like, oh, I have a quest back there, my Hearthstone's down. I'm gonna like play it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
like,
the whole itch with this game.
Like,
hold on.
I want to log back in and get.
Do you
back
think
to
that's
where
because
I
your
was,
schedule was different then, though?
I think it's part of it, but I think I
you had
am less
homework
patient.
to do.
No, but I think I'm also less patient. Where I'm like, if I want to sit down and play a game, no, I
now
I didn't
you are
fucking
less
do
patient.
homework. Are you kidding me? Like, no, like I think if I'm sitting down to play a game at night, I kind of want to play that game all night. Like,
now
yeah,
you do is what you're saying.
Yeah, now I do. I do. And I understand that's how it was for people who played Classic too, but it wasn't my experience. A lot of times it's like if my Hearthstone was down, I had to walk all the way back. I'd be like, fuck that, I'm gonna go play Pokemon for an hour. So, like, or I'm gonna go outside or do other things. But now I'm like, I need the game to like, I want to just play one game and that's it all night.
Let's answer this one question and then we'll put a bow on it because we're going over now.
I think we all. I do want to say I think we all kind of agree. It's just on the nitty gritty that we don't agree, but we're mostly in the same spot except for like how long it should take.
So, Chanee,
length to me is indifferent. I'm just
we
saying.
Could figure it out. Like,
yeah.
I think just personally, from my experiences and stuff with people and what I observe for how they feel about leveling in games, I think people want a quicker experience to where all their friends are. So as a new player,
there's a valid argument there.
Yeah.
If you guys were all like, hey, we're gonna play Final Fantasy, and then like a year later I'm finally like, yeah, I'm gonna play too, and I'm like, oh shit, it's like I want to play with you guys. I don't want it to take forever to get where you guys are.
But don't you think that could foster an environment where you are going to enter the dungeon in a shit state because you didn't learn anything you needed to learn?
I just don't want it to take forever.
Okay. So we're going to ask this one question. I want an answer from each one of you. Chanee, what is the objective that they need to achieve with a new leveling experience? What do they need to solve for?
I think. Wow.
If you want, like, anyone else have an answer before Chanee?
Scrap always has an answer.
I do have an answer. Okay. I don't know if I can put it into one word.
No, not one word. Just one mission statement. Like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
I got it now.
Okay, give it to Chanee, but I mean, I have my answer too.
I think they should make it enjoyable and rewarding.
Yeah.
Is what they should solve for. Like, it does suck if you have to do 70 levels, and every time you level, if they're gonna make it slightly longer, I should feel that every time I level, I should get something that feels very rewarding, and the game should just be enjoyable. I don't mind difficulty, but I also don't want like Elden Ring.
But what would make, like, so the answer I'm looking for those, like, what makes it enjoyable? Is it the story? Is it I want to get there fast? Is it,
Unfortunately, it's a balance of like a decent story at a decent pace,
Okay.
Like, I think pacing matters. I do think like 80 hours, I think you'll lose people more than if you told them it was like 40 is more plausible. I'm like a 20-hour guy to the leveling, but it's, if I can skip cinematics, I usually do. Unless
did you play like The Last of Us or anything like that?
Me?
Or Elden Ring. Let's use Elden Ring as an example.
I played The Last of Us and Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. How long would you have played? Yes, you. How long would you have played Elden Ring when it came out before you felt like you got bored or you achieved the end game?
I played it for like 200 hours.
Right.
And I would play it again right now.
Yeah.
So, but
like,
that's
like Zelda. No, I know, but what I'm saying is leveling for the most part is going to feel like a single player experience.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can do it multiplayer, but it is built single player.
If it's a good game, I want it to be longer, and I think that's what they're missing in the leveling experiences. I don't know anybody who wants it to be longer because they're enjoying it. Like, I don't know anybody who specifically enjoys leveling in its current state. And that's a huge fucking problem because it's like something you have to do. So there shouldn't be things that you have to do in the game. Like, I think Chanee's one word, enjoyable. Like, that's what they need to fix. They need to make people want to level.
But enjoyable is a very broad term. I want to what is enjoyable?
That's the design they need to be shooting for. Because I think the current design is not to make leveling it's enjoyable. It's to make it fast. So they need to change their design goal.
I don't think that's what I think what they did is they took a design and then said, well, shit, now it needs to be fast. And so they just dialed, right? Like, they didn't design it to be fast. They said, oh, God, make it fast,
I know, but I think that's like the primary design thing is that they're like, we can't lose people. We need to get them into the end game and into the loop where they're stuck paying their subscription and stuff. We need to get people addicted, right? Like, as somebody who is in the loop, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the leveling experience should be as enjoyable. It's a $60 expansion, I should get the same amount of time and enjoyment and depth out of any other $60 AAA game.
Do you think that if you made a 200-hour version, right, of the WoW story's best beats?
If it was for example, Elden Ring, you can beat it in like 50 hours, or you could really slow down
you could do
and take it in 200 hours, like I did.
You probably could beat it in 10 hours if you're really good at it.
No, you could beat it, and you could beat it in minutes. 1 hour.
Yeah,
you could beat it in minutes. But I'm just saying, like, the reason I played it like on my first playthrough 200 hours because there was so much and I was so like the world was so satisfying to explore that I wanted to uncover every rock. I wanted to get everything it was giving me, because it was such a good experience. And every single player game I like is like that. Yeah.
The message I'm hearing then is what's enjoyable is discoverability.
It's different because
wonder.
Elden Ring, it's also challenge for me. Wonder
and challenge too, of course.
Yeah, for me, totally wonder goes miles and miles for me. That's what originally got me into the game. Was like Tekniq was talking, like this huge scale and just like going to a completely different. Like I go to Stranglethorn Vale and it's like, oh my god, it's raining. Like that's so cool, Like I'm not kidding. Like that's something that I would be like, I would just like
oh, there's a horde player, and you're like, oh, let me fuck with that right now.
It was different. The wonder was the factor that got me into the game, and it's kept me on it. Like I'm still enjoying it. I'm playing it for different reasons. I would say the wonder is not there anymore.
I think that's a fair argument.
Yeah, and I think that's what they need to fix.
My comparison would be to Tears of the Kingdom, like Zelda, the new Zeldas, right? Because I played that game probably for 100+ hours, and for me, it was just like, I mean, they added the new layer of the belows, the depths or whatever.
Yeah, the caves.
And it was just like literally pitch black and I had to figure my way through it. And once I connected that, like the roots in the below were connected to the shrines up above, like it just unlocked this whole like discoverability to it. So I think maybe there's, because even if I make this curated story that I was talking about, is there really any discoverability in it? No, it might feel like I'm just being, shouted at a story.
That's what I'm worried it's going to have kind of an MCU vibe where it's just like,
Well, but that might be inevitable when you have an MCU story.
I know. But the thing is, I'm not a
Chanee,
big fan of MCU,
you praying to the heavens like, what's up?
Yeah, go on, Chanee.
I think the hard part, like I played Skyrim for like 200-300 hours. I think a difference is I know it's a single player game and I want to get my money out of the game and there's no one else to play with. So like, I'm 100% looking to get like every trophy in it. I was looking to look everywhere. Where in WoW, I have friends to play with who I want to do stuff with them more so. And
Or so you think.
Well, I don't have friends. I mean, God, you guys.
No,
No,
I
but
mean,
hold on. I
you
think that's
think
a
you want
very
to play with them.
no, but
I know I want to play with them. No,
I
but
mean,
I think
like, of course, there's that angle, right? But like, I think to draw new players, you have to have a single player experience.
But the best part of Classic was that it wasn't single player. Is that you'd you get stuck on something and you'd run into somebody and you'd meet new people. So it has the potential to be even better than a single player experience.
You run into Bob that's like happens to be on the same quest, and and you're like, dude, let's do this shit together, man. And
that's how you meet people.
Like, playing hardcore again really illuminated that, like really magnified that aspect of the game where you're like in a zone. There's a handful of other people in there, and you're like, hey, buddy, that I can see on my screen that's in the same zone doing the thing.
My question for Chanee is, so you said Skyrim 200 hours, but you didn't play it because you're like, I have to uncover like, you had that sense. What was it about Skyrim that had that sense of like discovery that you wanted to get every trophy? You wanted to see every dungeon.
I got houses, damn it. I want a house in WoW.
Okay. Does that fix leveling? Is if you level, you get a house?
Dude, for me, getting the rewards in different towns and the renown and the reps and whatnot, and getting houses, 100%. I want the best house. I wanted a house in every town. They had different there was always some kind of rewards. Like, I would do all these side missions to get every different set of gear. Like, I want to collect it all. Like, it gave me stuff. I've done so much stupid stuff in WoW just because they give me things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I've gone and collected every pet. I've done every quest, every expansion on one singular character because someone's like, there's a quest out there to get like an achievement for Lore Master. So I went and did it. Like, yeah, I'm very much like, you give me these things and I'll do them.
You're a completionist.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, for trophies more than just like the sake of completing.
Yeah, a bit of both. Like, even in WoW, I'll do every single quest there is.
You got Tyvon yet?
No, I haven't got to it.
You disgust me.
I don't think I will, just because there's too much other stuff going on in my personal life that's keeping me busy.
Tekniq, we've left you out of this so far. How do you make leveling, as we're going to say, enjoyable? What's the one mission statement?
The only real comment that I want to like go back to is what Chanee said that really stuck out. Is like, yeah, that is something that's in an MMO. Like, when a new player comes, they're most likely invited by a friend. They want to get to be playing with their friends. They've already got, dungeon scaling, and like, I can join a dungeon with my level 70 guy friend, and we can play the thing together, and I don't feel like I'm weaker or stronger than him or them. So I feel like that's okay. Like, if I like, hey, I need help on a quest, like, he should be able to party with me and we scale and do the thing together because we're friends and we're at a party, and it's okay. But ultimately, to answer your question, I feel like leveling and questing should be like one linear campaign that kind of guides you through the story and introduces you to the characters that are the big hitters and stuff like that we already talked about. But what makes me play the game is a good balance of challenge and reward for my efforts. I don't want shit given to me. If I did, I would just, boost myself to 70 or something for $50 because, whatever. But I feel like if I'm playing the game, like, I want to feel like I can die. I probably don't want to die, but I want to feel like I'm having to, like, I want that adrenaline rush
between every pull.
Well, maybe not eat between every pull. I feel like
to survive.
Specifically to answer, no, I think specifically to answer that question, once the combat breaks, you probably should just regen faster than we currently do. Because eating, like, anyway, that's a different subject. But I feel like in combat, like, if I accidentally pull extra mobs, I want to know that. I want to feel like, oh shit, I stepped too close to something. I got to do something about it, or start over, or like die, or Anyway, that's my opinion on it. I feel like there's a good balance between challenge, reward, and
I think the reason you feel that way though is because you play a prot warrior. Like, if you did it on your priest and you pulled a couple...
I leveled up as a rogue. I leveled up as a mage in classic. I leveled up as a paladin.
Classic is different, but
now I play a warrior.
No, but I mean, saying like today, what have you leveled up?
A warrior, a priest, a warlock. I mean, I don't feel like that's the case.
Frank. On all the characters I've leveled, like
you
cannot
die.
Are
you?
Unless you are just literally AFK.
My
like,
experience.
Okay, you pull 20 guys, you just have to walk like 30 feet to the left, and they all walk back to their spot.
Now,
like you have no problem.
No, hold on. So, and only because I don't want to get
no,
off
it's not. Yeah.
My only thing is just that like it's about the gear you bring in, right? Like if I'm geared to the teeth from Shadowlands and go to Dragonflight, yes. But if I'm not geared from teeth,
I'm telling you, it's not. If you start from zero, we can do it right now.
I'm telling you, I'm granted, we obviously have different experiences of difficulty, but I'm not saying it was difficult, but I'm saying it took me minutes to, not minutes, it took me time to kill something. So I think there is some of that, and then being a prot warrior also, because they have to make them a little, like, you know, in classic prot warriors didn't have that much more in their toolkits to stay alive. But anyways,
we might want to have like a level 1 to 30 race or something.
Yeah, and see who dies
and
the
just
most.
see who died. Like no boost.
Who died on hardcore the most?
Nothing.
I'm telling Frank,
the two of you. The two of you.
I have to agree with Tekniq. The only way you'll die leveling 1 to 30 now is if you fall off a fucking cliff.
I'm not saying that that's not true. Anyways, okay. Let's go to the question of the week. Go to the question of the week. We're running out of time.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I love you guys.
So, from Ioski in our Discord, what expansion would you choose to be the next in the remix portfolio? So they've done Mists. What would be your next expansion of choice?
I can make mine quick.
Okay.
Cataclysm. I love Cataclysm. That's it.
Well, even though it's on Classic right now?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna play it on Classic because my character's not leveled up.
Because it's not fast enough.
No, nobody.
You can pay
none of my
for it, like
friends are playing
Tekniq always suggests.
No, none of my friends are playing it. It's fine.
Okay.
I might play it actually. Dooky's playing. I might go.
Okay. So Cataclysm for Scrapclaw, Chanee, Tekniq.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tech.
You first, please. No, you first.
No, you. I can't.
All right. Well, I was gonna say Burning Crusade. That's the most nostalgic expansion for me. I would love to do it again. Maybe not the best expansion, but I loved whatever the Spore Flyer dude's zone was. What was that?
What?
Zangarmarsh?
I love Zangarmarsh.
I loved that.
Really? That was my least favorite one.
Yeah.
What? Zangarmarsh is so cool. It's hard to traverse though. It's so wet.
And of course, like the Illidan raid, that was hugely nostalgic for me. But yeah, a lot of that stuff was good.
What I don't understand is that the Black Temple raid is available through time walking, and you never do it.
We never do it.
Why the fuck would I do it in time walking? It's like LFR, fucking walk in, everything dies, and you leave.
Yeah,
it's
embarrassing. Satisfying.
How many time walking raids have you done? Because not to say it's not easy, but
zero, dude.
Because people don't know what the fuck they're doing.
So it's worse than LFR.
Okay. So
okay. You think it's gonna be a different? Whatever.
There's no collaboration. You're with literally 24 other bots. It may as well be bots.
You're not. You have to build the group.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
Well, why don't you do it, Frank, next time?
I do. I want to do Ulduar, but I never can build the group.
Okay, well, get on it then, and we'll change our minds, maybe.
Anyway, if I can go and clear the Black Temple
going to be
one
new
night
event.
with a bunch of strangers, it's not the Black Temple. That's all I'm saying.
It's not my Black Temple.
No.
Well, yeah, but then the time running wouldn't be that way either, because okay.
Right. Frank, you're getting in the weeds.
Chanee,
let it go.
answer.
Mine's gonna make everyone mad, so
what?
It's gonna be WAD. No, I want WAD.
What?
I want WAD. I want my garrison back. I want
Nice
people
garrison.
to like get the idea of maybe having a house would be nice.
I
want
don't
a
have
house
any problem
so
with
bad.
WAD. WAD was cool.
I just want WAD because gets universally crapped on, and I think it could be. I think if people went back and just had some fun with it, it could be fun.
I think the reason why WAD got crapped on those, because the story just like took a left turn out and just never came back. You know,
I'm just saying, like weird. A lot of people
and it had an
WAD.
18-month like season 3.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if people could play it again, they might be like, oh, this isn't, you know.
I think that's
no,
fair.
I liked WAD when I leveling through it and stuff, and I like orcs, so I like the orc story.
Yeah, I miss Thrall.
It was weird,
man.
but it was fun. Yep.
My answer would be a tie between Wrath of the Lich King, which I'm not going to say is my answer
Yeah,
because
I like
it already had
Wrath
classic,
too.
but Legion as well. The Legion raids, the Legion raids were so good. Getting the artifacts were so fun, right? Like the thing with time walking or time running is that if you just took out the artifact grind, like everything else about that expansion was awesome. Because the legendaries sucked getting them at the first place, but they fixed that. And then on top of that, with time running, you wouldn't have to worry about that problem. You'd get to see the Nighthold. You'd get to see Gul'dan at the top of the tower. You'd get to see, Antorus and all that fun stuff. I just think that would be such a lot of fun. And the dungeons were for the most part really good in that expansion too. So yeah.
I'm with you with Wrath. Wrath is huge nostalgia for me, so I would definitely see that again.
All right. Well,
Wrath would be my other choice.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all your inputs on how to fix WoW's leveling. I'm going to send this to the devs, and we'll see who they side with. We will get full force into time running in the Panda Land, and maybe have some thoughts on that next week, as well as some more alpha information. But otherwise, we appreciate you all listening, and thanks for listening to Around the Mage Table. Tekniq, any last words?
No, man. I think we've all said our last words, man. I'm ready to roll. Thanks
You're ready to go to bed.
For listening.
Scrap.
I am ready for that.
I'm ready for a key.
Okay, Chanee.
I'll see y'all in Panda Land.
Yep. See everyone in Panda Land. Thanks for listening. Take care.